everybody. Good morning. Good morning. You guys ready to have some fun? Yeah. All right, so this class is called Curriculum Arcade, bringing game methodologies into the classroom. We all love games, right? Yes. We've played them since we were a little kid. We've played tic-tac-toe, we've played Connect Four, we've played one of these clapping games. Miss Mary, Mac, played that one, right? Has anybody seen one of these? Okay.
Told you who you're going to marry, how many kids you were going to have,
Right.
where you're going to live.
Thank God for this thing, because I knew I was going to marry somebody named Elmo, and I was going to have 20 kids, and I was going to live in Florida, and I was going to have a Camaro, so, you know, this really came in handy when I was younger. And now they have all these new games. They have Jenga, they have some creative games that we're going to go over. So let's talk a little bit about games.
Wait, Sherry, tell them who we are. Tell them who you are.
I'm sorry, I have a lot of energy. I'm really excited. I'm Sherry Appleton. I'm a medical and healthcare instructor over at Middlebucks Institute of Technology.
And I am Joanne McLaughlin. I also teach at Middlebucks Institute of Technology, and I teach cosmetology.
Okay. Whew, that's out of the way. All right. So let's talk a little bit about games. A lot of the classes that you've probably gone to yesterday or that you plan on going to, there's going to be a huge focus on technology. Now, I don't know any of you. I've met a couple. You're all very nice. But I don't have a lot of computers in my classroom. I have 4.
I have 5 for 30 students.
Okay, and I have 48 students in 2 different classes. So I don't have the space or the ability to use computers. So what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of old school it. We're going to teach you how to play a whole bunch of different games with the students in your classroom, and all of the games that we're going to teach you, you can kind of adjust them to, or modify them to work in your own curricular areas, which is awesome. Game-based learning, there's 3 main elements. The first one's competition. You know kids love competition, they love to compete. The second one is engagement. If they're playing a game, they're not even going to know that they're learning, which is kind of cool. And the third one is immediate gratification. There's a winner. So we're going to talk about the different ways that we address all 3 of those components to make a really great game. Disclaimer, real quick, and we're going to get started. We're going to move pretty fast. We have, I think, 10 to 12 games that we would really like to go over with you. If we can't get to any of them, we're really sorry. We are repeating this at 3:15 this afternoon in a much bigger room. I think the capacity is like 90 people in there. Joanne and I are both available after the session. If you have any questions, please share all of the paper and the scissors and the tape. They are scattered around the room, so you might need to get up out of your seat. But please, when we're trying to bring people back and get you refocused, please come back and refocus, okay? Joanne's gonna, well, actually, I'm gonna walk around and I'm gonna collect your stick. We're gonna get started with our first game.
First name, that's initial.
Sorry about that. I thought we should kind of hit on everything.
And we also have business cards up here, so you know, time today, you can get in touch with us. Okay, so the first game that we're going to do today is tic-tac-toe. Everybody knows how to play tic-tac-toe, no matter how old you are, everybody played it. So we're going to play tic-tac-toe with our friends. I have a couple samples that I will pass around. These are completed ones, and you can see. God bless you. So here's how tic-tac-toe is played. We don't do any of the work with the instructors. They do it. Yay. So in the morning, we're taking roll, we're collecting papers, we're doing emails, all that kind of stuff. So they come into the room. On the board, it says, come up with 36 questions. You have a tic-tac-toe sheet at your table. You're going to come up with 36 questions. Now, depending on the subject matter that you're doing, sometimes I did 36 questions, sometimes I only played 2 games. and did 18 questions. So I could do it as a review, I could do it as just like a pregame from yesterday, remind them what they did yesterday for today. So you adjust. So they're going to get a piece of paper that looks like this, obviously blank, and it's going to have 2 sides to it. 2 games on this side, 2 games on this side, and then they're going to get 2 of them. One is going to be for questions. So I just told you, come up with 36 questions. So you're going to write your 36 questions in each one of these boxes. So you have front and back, 36 questions. On your other paper, you're going to have 36 questions, 36 answers. So over here is question number 1, says, what are the 3 primary colors? On my answer key over here says red, yellow, and blue. So they're matching. Everybody done their questions? Yes, yes, yes. Now, here's the thing. It can take 10 minutes, it can take a half hour, it depends on what you want to do for that morning. So if you need that morning, you have 36 questions, it might take them a half hour to do it, and you're going to say, great, everybody have your questions? Perfect, put them away, tomorrow we're going to play the game. Now you have like a little bit of anticipation. What are we doing with this? So sometimes it's going, you're only going to do 18 questions, you can do that right there real quick in the morning. So you decide how you're going to use it. When they go to play the game, you have to tell them, okay, you have to pick 2 people for each game. You're not allowed to pick your friends. You have to have 2 different people for every single game that you play. You have to mingle around the room so they're collaborating, they're socializing, but in a good way because they have to go over and then... Deborah, do you want to play this first game with me? Sure. And Joe. Yes. See? Do you want to play this game? Okay, so then I'm going to go around, I'm going to pick names, and I'm going to have the 2 games. So the first game, I'm going to play with Joe and Deborah, and I put my card down. If I'm nervous about answering questions, because I don't like being put on the spot, I can be the facilitator. I can be the game show host. I'm still hearing the question, I'm still hearing the answers to the question, so I'm involved. So I put the paper down, and each one of them gets to pick a question. Deborah, pick a question. So, what are the 3 primary colors? I'm going to read it out loud. All 3 of us are hearing it. What's your answer?
Red, yellow, and blue.
Red, yellow, and blue. Okay, put your name in that square. So we keep going back and forth until someone does tic-tac-toe. Now they're looking at the question, and I'm nervous. I can pick out an easy question, I can pick out a hard question, but when the game starts to come into play and I need to block somebody, I don't have an option of picking the question. I got to answer that question if I want to win the game, right? So even if we don't know the answer, if you get the answer wrong, say she said purple, green, and violet, purple, green, and orange. No, Deborah, do you want to steal, Joe?
I do.
Okay, so then she has the option of answering the question. So she wins this square, boom, she wins the game, okay? So because you won the game, you get a piece of candy, you get a point on your test, you get whatever I have for you to give, whatever you have in your toolbox. So now we're finished. Okay, thanks for playing my game. Now I gotta go to someone else, and I gotta get 2 more people. So I'm constantly moving around the room. They're not sitting still, they're moving around the room. They're talking with people that they don't normally talk with. They're collaborating. They're hearing questions over and over again. Repetition is the greatest learner. Back when I went to school, we said things over and over. We wrote our timetables over and over and over again. We read our vocabulary over and over and over again. Repetition is the best teacher. So we have that. Question. Is anything? Yes.
So you as the game show host, then you would have the answer key and you're responsible for saying correct or not?
Yes.
Okay.
And you can make any kind of questions up. So I can make very simple, what are the 3 primary colors? I can make it true or false. I can make it fill in the blank. You'll want to make your questions thoughtful, guys, because you want to stump those people that you're playing with. You don't want to have them win the game. You want to be the winner and you want to earn the extra point. So you want to make your game tough. So that's what you're telling them. So you can have any kind of questions on there that you want. Okay. Once they go around to each room, you collect the papers and you just make sure that Susie's name is only on there once and not 9 times or 4 times. And then you give it back to them, and what did they just create? So, they're making questions, so they're in their books, they're in their notes, they're in their workbooks. They're thinking about thoughtful questions and writing them down. They're playing the game, they're hearing it. If you want to get the sense of smell there by sending markers, and that's how they're writing their names in there. So now they're using the sense of smell. So all of that's tic-tac-toe. We good?
And just to jump in really quick, now that you've heard one of the games, you know, Joanne and I play a lot of games in our classroom. We probably have played these games over and over again. So what we basically did for you today is we have provided you with all the trials and errors that we already made. Some of them worked, some of them didn't work. We had to sit back, we had to look at the game and how we initially presented it. We had to ask our students for feedback. Hey, how can we make this game a little bit better, and how can we make it work in our classroom? So you can take any of these games and adjust it for your program content area. So when I did this game, I did it for a completely different area, and it still worked.
And 36 questions, my girls, they're not going to sit for 36 questions. Like 25, I could probably get them to sit still for. 36 is pushing it. So I did a present chapter review, like a lesson review from the prior day, and only did 18 questions. Done.
Right, and if you let your student know that the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it, you know, they want to have the best games to play. So if they write really good questions, after that first round of questioning, we're just going to get out there. And the other students are going to say, oh my gosh, you got to go play Amy's game. Amy's game is really good. So that's what you're trying to instill in your students.
Okay, so the next one is Connect 4, very similar, okay, with Connect 4. We have a piece of paper inside a page protector, okay, right across the top, because this is the top, this is the bottom, so they can distinguish between it, and we just made a whiteboard. So anything I'm pretty much sure everybody has done that before. Okay, so same concept. You can do one of two things. You can make them write the question, or you can write the question. In cosmetology, I'm very fortunate. We have a state board review book. So if I don't feel like making questions out of my head, I can just go to this book and pick out whatever questions that I want. I can have them do the questions. I can sit and make them up on my own. So I don't know what your resources are, but everybody has to make questions up for tests. You have that.
Right, and in my class, I don't really have a list of questions, so I had to actually prepare the first time. So you go through a unit, you write your list of questions. Yes, it does take a little bit of time on your part, and then you have it. And all you have to do from your year is just adjust it or modify it.
And then you're not playing the same game for each, you know, the same questions for each game. Now, these questions are for when I play tic-tac-toe. These questions are for when I do Connect 4. So you have a little bit, so you're giving variety to the class as well. So Connect 4 is very similar to the tic-tac-toe, only this coming at 4. So we're going to have a game show host, we're going to have questions, we're going to keep repeating the same questions over and over again. I get asked a question, I answer, I get to choose what box I want to put it in.
So I just got a question right. I'm like, yay! Remember, we're dropping in from the top, so you have to give really good instructions when you're playing the game so that the student understands it. Maybe you want to put a picture on the board. You know, you're dropping the checkered kind of pieces into the top of the game. Well, I just answered my question right. There's a whiteboard marker right on his hair.
And then the next person asks the question. You can play in teams of 3, teams of 2, teams of 4, however it is that you want to work it.
Oh, my team just got a question right. I'm going to go here, because remember, with Connect 4, you can win horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. So I'm trying to get 4 in a row, but you have to start from the bottom.
So it's basically pretty much the same thing as tic-tac-toe, just, you know, 4 in a row instead of 3 in a row.
A little bit different.
Same concept.
One click.
Do this.
All right, so now you guys are getting ready to play. So this is how this portion of the game is going to work. I'm going to actually go over 2 different games. This side of the room has the dominoes game. This side of the room has the Tarzia puzzle. So allow me to explain. These 2 games actually require a little bit of higher level thinking. So they're puzzle pieces. You have to put them together. We have provided you with a template. If you go online and you type in dominoes, or if you type in Tarzia puzzles, you're going to get a lot of different ideas. So, especially with the Tarzia puzzle, we gave you a very simple one. We gave you the 9-section triangle, but if you go online, there are octagons, there are hexagons, there are all crazy types of puzzles that you can actually put together. The best way to assemble both of these puzzles is to actually cut out a blank template. You're going to put it in front of you as the teacher, completely and totally blank. And then you're going to start assembling your puzzle. So for the dominoes game, I took all the dominoes pieces. I think there's 10 on one sheet of paper. You'll notice one of them has the word start and one of them has the word finish. So the start is your first domino. Have you all kind of played dominoes before? A little bit? All right, let me explain. So you're going to start with your first puzzle piece, and you'll notice, you'll notice that the first word is start, and then you have the second half of the tile that's blank. Then you have a whole bunch of blank tiles, and the very last one is a blank, and then the word finish. So you cut them all out, you put the one that says start in front of you, and you line them up in a chain. You can make this as long or as short as you want to do. These games are really good if you want to hone in on something really specific. So it's kind of like they're making connections. There's similarities and differences that the students are trying to pair up and match. So I'm going to hold this one up. Hopefully you can't see the answers, but your finished product is going to look kind of something like this for the dominoes. Okay. So you're going to have the students come in as their warm-up. They're going to cut out all of their pieces. You've assembled it. So if you notice, start, and then you're going to put a word. On the next tile, the first part, you're going to put the connection. So it might be a definition, it might be an acronym and the meaning. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can pair these together. The student cuts them out, they have it in front of them, and then you put up a list of directions. I'm going to show it to you in a few minutes because I don't want you to do it now. But this is also a lesson on following directions, okay?
And you can make them, I'm sorry, you can make them as long as you want. We did it at in-service, and we did it with all the programs in our CTE, and it took them a little while to put it all together, so.
So you have to tell your students to follow the directions, and they're making a connection, because what you're going to see is the students are going to be initially putting the puzzle together, and they're probably not going to be able to finish it because you've designed it. You know what puzzle pieces go together. And this is the same for the Tarzia puzzle. You know what pieces match up. So being the instructor, you're going to be very strategic when you're developing your puzzles. You want to include some similarities and some differences in your connections. So 2 pieces might go together, but that one puzzle piece might also match up in another area. So what you start seeing is that the students get a little bit frustrated. This is where your teacher abilities come into play, because I can walk around the room and I can say, and I'm not reading them right now, but do you really think these 2 pieces go together? Because didn't we talk about how, and you can bring up a subject matter area, and then they start to think, oh, well, maybe that's not where that goes. Or I can walk up to a student and I can go, what are you struggling with? Here, well, I'm going to give you a little clue. Don't tell anybody. These two pieces go together. These two are a match. So then what you're going to see is, you tell the student not to tell other students, but they're going to tell them. But that's great. You want them to do that because you want them to cooperate. You want them to be a team. You want them to work together. So the dominoes puzzle, you're stringing your pieces together like this. Don't do it yet. I know some of you are overachievers and you're already done. The Tarzia puzzle, same concept. If you don't mind, I'm going to grab two of your pieces right here. So same thing. You're going to cut out all your pieces. And then you're going to lay them down on top of the template. And what you're doing with this one is the two sides that are touching, those are the two sides that have to have a connection. But remember, you're being really strategic with the way that you're developing this puzzle, because this piece might go here, but if you can't match up anything else, this piece may also go here. So with this puzzle, you're seeing a lot of that higher level thinking. You're getting the students to read. They're getting the hands-on experience, that tactile stimulation of cutting out their puzzle pieces. But they have to analyze now, which is a higher level concept. And they are going to get a little bit frustrated. The greatest thing you can do for them is you can tell them to assemble their puzzle off of the template. That makes it a little bit easier because initially they're trying to stay within the confines of the puzzle. So we're going to play. We're only going to give you about 2 minutes because we have a lot more puzzles to get through. There's tape scattered around the rooms. You'll see it behind you. There's masking tape. There's scotch tape on your desks. For the people who are doing the dominoes puzzle, please listen. I'm going to put directions up there. Please follow the directions. The first team that brings up their puzzle and it is correct, Mrs. McLaughlin, Joanne is going to be over here. I'm going to be with the dominoes. You will win a prize. Ready, set, go. All right,
They're still stretching over, putting it together.
Did you get
What's that?
Yep.
Can we bring it back?
We came as a
We
team.
have a lot to go over. Okay, so you see, guys, just breaking this down, let's just kind of,
There's definitely
evaluate what
engagement.
we
Everybody
did and let's
was-
reflect on the puzzles. I know you don't have a lot of time. We only have an hour. But you can see, and I'm sorry to those people over here that I said,
What do
no,
you
I
think?
can't accept your puzzle, but this is also an exercise on following directions. You have to follow the directions when you're out in the workforce. You have to listen to your boss. You can't do things your own way and expect to complete the project the way that your boss told you to complete the project. So a lot of people on this side reach over the table and try to hand it to me by themselves. No, you did not follow the directions. Somebody tried to hand it to me and they didn't highlight. Somebody tried to hand it to me and say, I am done. And I'm like, can't take it because it says bring your completed chain as a team up to the instructor. So we have our winners right here. We have Tammy and we have Terry, so they are going to get to select a prize. With this game over here, please take them home and practice
They got the
them.
harder one
Now,
because
I have to
pieces
admit,
having
I
to, it's like
probably
really
should
a
have told
puzzle.
you guys
That might be
the outer
way too
part
much for
of this puzzle was all blank.
So you want to
That is my
differentiate
fault, and I apologize for that. I am not perfect.
higher level
But
kids
take these puzzles
challenge them.
home,
This would be too easy.
continue to play with them. All of the templates are online. And
But if
if you
they
want to
did
make
this,
the
then you'd
puzzles
be
a
able
little bit harder,
to keep
you
them,
can
'cause this will be
repeat
too
some of
easy.
the words on the perimeter to make it more difficult. You can also have your students color coded, but it does make it easier if you try to assemble it off of the template and you don't stay within the confines. So we have a winner over here.
Yeah, who are winners?
Okay, you guys.
They get prizes now.
I didn't.
They
Yeah,
are
the
winners,
two
so
winners,
they coming down.
they had it all on their paper, they glued it down, everything. Yep, you guys are the winners. Come on down and get your
So
prize.
these are some examples like Sherry did with her class that are a little bit on the larger scale, a little bit detailed.
I have a lot of
Oh, I'll take the darts. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
All right, guys, let's bring it back. All right. All right, so with the teacher, guys, please pay attention. I don't know how many of you know this game. I don't know if you've been introduced to this before. We were actually introduced to this game through Matt's teaching. It did not work the first time I used it in my classroom. I don't know if it worked great in your classroom, but we had to modify this. So the great thing about this program is we took all of the failures and we went through them and we went home feeling horrible about ourselves, but we figured out what worked. So let me explain quickly what Stump the Teacher is. This is a really great game for brand new material. So you're starting a new chapter or a new unit. So in my class, I used the skeletal system. I brought my textbook home. I decided what the students were going to read, reading comprehension. So usually for one reading, studies have been done where you want the student to read about 8 paragraphs, normal size paragraphs. That's about 2 pages in most textbooks, okay? I take my textbook home, I decide what I'm going to read about. So I'm reading about the skeletal system, I'm reading about the introduction, structure and function, and maybe we're going to do the bones of the face and skull. I take my book home and memorize it, the entire thing. I know everything there is on those 2 pages. Now I go back into school the next day, students walk in, I tell them to grab their textbook, and we're going to read. I get a whole bunch of oohs and ahs. I say, look, we're only going to read for 6 minutes. So let's open up to these 2 pages. We preview it, because we all know previewing is really important. I tell the students I'm going to set a timer, they're going to read. If you get done the reading, read it again. If you get done the reading, read it again. I said, but I don't want to hear a sound in this room because I have to read this. I haven't looked at this since last year. So, I'm reading through the chapter. I set the timer. If you need a little bit more time, you can set it for 10 minutes. They don't know what you set your timer for. So I set my timer, I say, your job is to try to remember as much as you possibly can. I want to be able to hear a pin drop in this classroom. Ready, set, go. They start reading, I'm refreshing my memory yet again. I know those pages. I make some sounds. I act, I'm like... So that's what I do, and they're looking at me, they're reading. If I see them look up, I'll go... Read again. Okay, so that bell goes off. They're done reading. They start to close their books. I'm like, no. Leave your books open. I close my book. Here's where we're going to play the game. All right. This is how this game works. Everybody out there is going to have an opportunity to ask me a question. That's why I have my little sticks with your names on it. So I am going to pick a stick. They're going to fire a question at me. This is where I can be strategic. I know what students try really hard in my class. I know what students don't try hard, or which students don't try hard in my class. And I pretty much know everything that I just read. So I'm going to know all the answers. You guys have to prepare. They started asking me questions, and I tell them, if you can stump me, I'm going to give you a point on your final unit exam. Really, they love those extra points. And come on, guys, what's 1 point? It's not going to make or break you. And, you know, in the whole scheme of the whole year, you're giving them a point. I mean, they love that. So I keep score on the board. I answer the questions. I flub up for maybe a student who really needs the extra point who tries so hard. They start making alliances, and they start talking to the people next to them, and they're like, oh, ask Miss Appleton this, she won't know that answer. Which is kind of cool, so yet they're reading again, which is awesome. So everybody gets a chance to ask me a question. They can't repeat a question. So some of those easy ones that they're thinking about asking me, then they have to figure out other questions to ask. So you'll see them starting to help each other out, which is what we want them to do. When we're done, they're like, "Shh, this game is over." I'm like, no, game's not over yet. All of you close your books. And I do the same thing, but I fire out the questions to them. So now they've heard the material, they've at least read it a couple of times, then they've answered questions from the material, then they ask me questions or vice versa, and I've answered questions from the material. So it's a constant repetition, there's competition, there's engagement, and they're getting immediate gratification. They're getting a reward if they have the ability to stump me. So that's a really fun game. I found that it works great for an introductory lesson, but you can apply it however you want to your content area. Oh, I think we just use this one. Yeah. Hold up.
This is why we do a lot of things on paper.
All right.
Okay, so where's our name sticks? So now our names of our students in the cup. And I'm gonna pick 9 people for this next game. This is the unfair game, and you're gonna hate it and you're gonna love it. So I have my sticks, so when I call your name, because we don't have much space, maybe if you could kind of one team go over there or
We'll
whatever.
formulate them in the center there.
Brianna B. I have a Brianna B like this.
Come on, Brianna B, you're up here.
Tiffany B.
Tiffany.
Andrea. Oh,
And Andrea, you're team 1. Come on, let's go, everybody up. Team 2.
Stephen B.
Stephen B.
Hi.
Come on, get up.
Troy.
Let's go.
Team number 2.
Not really nervous. Carl.
Carl.
Deborah.
And Deborah, you're team
Deborah F.
number
with
2.
a smile face.
Who is it?
Deborah F. with a smile face.
Deborah F. and
Tammy.
Carl.
No,
You're
Tammy
your guy.
I.E.
Wait, who'd you just call?
Tammy.
Tammy, you're team number 3.
Bruce.
Ruth or Bruce?
Bruce.
Bruce. One more.
Chris. With a
And
C.
Chris. Let's go, let's go.
Chris with a C.
Chris G.
Chris G.
All right, meet your teammates. Meet your teammates, come up with a team name. Come up with a team name. Come up with a team name. Come on, talk. Come up with a team name.
We don't have a board. So, your teams are pulled randomly, and depending on how many students are in your class is how many teams that you're going to make and how many team members you're going to make. So you adjust that. One important thing is that you need to have enough questions so each team gets to start around, okay? So I have 9 questions up here, so each team can go 3 times, or 2 times. 3 times. Okay. That's why I teach us so much.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, so team number 1, what's your team name? The Stars? Stars. All right, so look, they have to collaborate. They have to come up with a team name that they all like, and then you refer to them by their team name because you want them to identify with the fact that they're not playing this game by themselves. They have other team members that they're playing with. Team 2, what's your team name?
Smiles.
Smiles, all right. Smiles. Team number 3, what's your name?
2 guys and a girl.
So we have Stars, Smiles, 2 guys and a girl.
All right,
Okay, so now we're going to play the game. I'm going to create a list of questions. Like I said, I have the State Board Review book. I can use that. I can make up my own questions, whatever is comfortable for you. I'm going to give a point value to each question. The object of the game is to get 0. The team that's closest to 0 wins the game. So I'm going to go down my list of questions. +1, +2, +3, 0, -1, -2, -3,
+5.
+5, -5. Now your +5s and -5s, don't put a whole lot of them in. Vary that. Depending on if you have a whole lot of questions, you can put 2 or 3 of them in. You don't want a whole lot of them because it's going to be harder for you to get back to 0. Okay. Object of the game, get to 0. Okay, you ready? Stars, pick a number.
Oh, what's the theme of the game?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right, I
It's
forgot.
Disney.
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 Okay?
And I don't know a whole lot of princesses on it.
Okay, right there. Good, good, good. All right.
9.
So wait, are we?
So what would happen in the real world is this would be all on the board. When they come in the morning, I have these stickers randomly all over my board. They come in the morning and they're like, what is she up to now? Okay, all this stuff's up there. We get started, they take their teams, and then they physically will come up to the board and pull question 9.
So they're getting out of their seat.
So they're moving. So then I go to question 9. Question 9, stars. A silly old bear that has words of wisdom for all of us. Who am I?
Winnie the Pooh?
Winnie the Pooh. You have -5.
Remember, you're assigning positive and negative points
Positive
to
and
every
negative
question.
You're right. Your answer was right. But that point value assigned to that question was -5.
Oh.
Is that fair?
Yes, it is unfair. Because it's an unfair game. And I can make up the rules as I go along. I had a team. I had a class.
Please listen, we only have 22 minutes left.
I had a class that was really, really competitive. And just by randomly, the way I pulled the stickers out, a lot of the really smart kids were on the one team. So they don't know what the point value is here. So I could make it up. I saw that they were getting a little copies. You +5. Because they don't know, I have this, they don't know.
Right, the game is very unfair. So they answered the question, wait, hold up. They answered the question correctly, but the point value pre-assigned to that question was -5. So now, what can they do with that -5?
Well, they can keep it, or they can toss it to someone else.
Oh, yeah.
So do you want to
So-
keep -5 or do you want to give it away?
We're gonna give it away.
Where do you want to give it?
To Smiles.
Oh! I think we're frowning now. Look, -5. -5, all right.
All right, Smiles, your turn, pick a number. 1. Number 1. Number 1, who's the leader of the club that's made for you and me? You might be too young for that.
Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse. You have a +1.
Ooh. So if you keep your +1, then that brings you up to a -4. So you're getting closer to 0, or do you want to give it away to another team? You'll keep it. So you see, they have to talk to their team members. And look, math. So you're bringing math into the classroom, which is awesome. And wait a second, as the game goes on, remember, only one team can win. So if you have a team that has -14 points, they're going to try to help out another team. So you see alliances being formed, which is also very cool. Do you get how it works?
So, if they get a question wrong, the next team gets the opportunity to steal it. So if you guys didn't know there was Mickey Mouse, you said Donald Duck, because you didn't know, you guys would get to steal that and answer that question. But that's why we have to have enough, so everybody gets to start a round, okay? So, 2 guys and a girl, what number?
8.
Number 8. Number 8, raised in the jungle by apes.
Tarzan.
Tarzan. So you have +5. So, I just randomly put numbers on Post-its. I randomly numbered my questions, but the easiest question happened to be on the small sticker, right? So what happens is, they're like, oh my God, all the easy questions are on the little squares. Pick the little square. Or all the hard questions are on the pink papers. Don't pick the pink ones when it's your turn. So I don't know. I just made it up. But they're starting to think about all these strategies, that which one's the hard questions, which one's the easy questions, and they kind of, you know, they, again, critical thinking, trying to strategize, trying to come up with a game plan, making plans. making alliances, teamwork. I don't know the answer for me personally, but I got my team here, let's collaborate. No, I think it's Winnie the Pooh, no, I think it's Minnie Mouse. Who is it? Figure it out from there. So you kind of get the gist of it, and you play it as long as many questions as you have. You can make it really long, you can make it really short. You can do it for a final review.
But the honor points to them.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess we have alliance. Hold up. So if we give our points, what's up?
Yeah, if we give our 5 away, we still have 0.
Yeah, that's true. So, team, 2 guys and girls wants to give their 5 points to the stars. So the stars have +5. I think we should end the game now, right? That's fair, right? Team number 1, the stars have 5 points. Team number 2, the smiles, have -4 points. And team number 3, 2 guys and a girl, have 0 points, so they win.
So the 3 of you can go and get your prizes.
That's unfair.
It's absolutely unfair.
All right, you guys go and reflect the prize.
Thanks for playing.
You guys go and reflect the prize. All right, next team. All right, guys, listen up. We're gonna do the same exact thing. When we call your name, you are going to come into the center of the room. Ready? We are gonna play a game called Heads Up. Some of you probably know this game. We're gonna show you how to modify it for your classroom. So, when we call your name, if we call your name, did you keep all those sticks out?
I didn't.
Okay, if we call your name and you already played, please give somebody else an opportunity. So, team number 1.
Erin J, Jamie D,
Erin J, Jamie D, come on,
Terry
Terry.
C,
Tennessee?
Terry C,
I was gonna say, that's the coolest name.
Joe,
All right, come on, teams of 3, let's go.
Dion,
So, team 1.
Chris R,
Go, Joe. All right. Come on, we need 3 right here.
9,
Yeah, we need 9 players.
Stephanie K,
Stephanie K.
Jeff. Is that 9? 3, 6, 9, that's 9.
That's 9. All right, we need all 9 of you up here. Okay. All right. Now, we did have chairs in the center of the room, but they got taken back. Are you guys comfortable with sitting on the floor? Sure. Are you okay with that? Sit in a circle on the floor. If you're not, that's okay. In your group.
There's a chair, there's 2
There's
chairs.
2
You guys-
chairs over here if you want to sit in the chair. Okay. All right, please listen up. Ready? All right, so this is a game called either Heads Up, or you might have heard the game called Headbands. Okay? If you have kids, they probably play it on their phone. I do not allow any cell phones in my classroom. None. They pull it out, they get a 0 for the day. That's how it works. No exceptions to the rule. So, this is a great game that you can play with vocabulary. This is an awesome game, and it works for every single subject matter area. So, what you do is you put 8, 9, 10, 20 vocabulary words on the board. As the students come in for their warm-up, you tell them to get X number of 3x5 cards and write 1 word on a flashcard. That is their warm-up. Now they wonder again, what is Mrs. Appleton up to? What is Mrs. McLaughlin up to? So, this is a great game for vocabulary as a review from the day before. They have to have some familiar knowledge of the word. So, what I did is I actually used the male reproductive system. This is pretty interesting. So, for all you guys out there, wait a second. We have seminiferous tubules. We have epididymis. We have vas deferens. We have prostate gland. Okay? We can also do this with the female reproductive system. But I did it for the male reproductive system. So, I had the students write the words on the card. I explain to them how this game works. It works best with 3 to 4 people because you want one person holding the cards and you want the other 2 or 3 people shouting out descriptors for the word. Because the object of the game is for the person who is holding the cards to guess the vocabulary word. Allow me to explain. Watch. When I tell you to go, and you're not going to do it right now, you're just watching, you're going to take the cards that you have been handed in the direction that you were handed them, and you're going to go like this. All of them, right up on your head. The other 2 or 3 people are going to start shouting out descriptors to me. So,
Triangle, questions, critical thinking,
okay, Bloom's taxonomy.
student government, competition,
HOSA.
more, PBA, HOSA is part of
Shows
it.
USA. Okay, you get it? Okay, so, are you guys ready to play? It's not the male anatomy. Okay, listen. I'm not that mean. Although my reputation is a little different. It's really tough. Okay, so you guys are doing DC and Marvel superheroes. Okay? Now wait, before you start, and this is all based on the honor system. Before you start, the great thing about this game is after Chris is done with his cards, you can assemble them back together, and now you hand them to the next player. And you repeat over and over and over again. You guys ready? It is the male reproductive system. No, I'm just kidding. Marvel and DC comics. Okay, ready? Are you ready? Set, go.
Up here.
You gotta put it up here. Put it up here. You gotta put it up here.
Wings, flying, blue, yellow,
Black and yellow.
special car.
Yeah, you do them all. You do them all.
One that has a black bar.
You put a time limit with them, you can.
Diane. Can't see.
You can say the words right now. Glass word. Not a lot, then you
I can read basketball, so
It's just a game, so it's okay. All right, guys, can we bring it back in? Can we bring it back in, please? All right, so this team over here did finish first, but can you see how this would be a really great game to focus in on maybe 8, 9, 10 different concepts, plus there's constant repetition. This game is so much fun, and you can apply it to any of your curricular areas. So this team over here, I do want my cards back because we have to repeat this, but you can come up and you can grab a prize. Thank you guys very much. Thank you for being great sports. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right.
So, another childhood game is Jenga. We have to find these little,
Please pay attention.
so we found these little games in the dollar store.
Dollar.
Okay, dollar store where you come out and spend $50. But the dollar store, and what you do is just get them, you color code them, okay? Color coding them for me was easy because then I could change the subject matter, and you can do it a couple different ways. So I could do anatomy, hair color, hair cutting, chemical texture.
Right.
Or I could do circulatory system, neurology, angiology, and osteology.
And I could do, if I'm doing skeletal system, I could do acronyms, diseases and disorders, bones of the head and skull, and I can do fractures. So kind of cool, you can break it up into categories.
So again, you have to come up with the questions, or as many questions as you want, or you're lucky like us, you have the Stapler Review Book, and you come up with all of your questions. You know the game, Jenga's the same game, okay? I want to pull out a block, I pull it out. If the tower falls, I lose, we have to start again. I get to pick what color I want. I want to do, what did you pick?
I picked blue.
Blue. So I go to my list of blue questions under the blue category, ask them the question, they get it right, they have two options. They can pull it out, or they can say, you can pull it out. And they give it to the other team.
Nice.
So you go back and forth that way till all your questions are done. They play nice, they get the study guide. They don't play nice, stinks for them, they make their own study guide. Okay?
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
And you can modify it any way you want. You don't have to color code it if you don't want to. You can just come up with a list of questions. Go through the list of questions. But remember, it's competition, engagement, immediate satisfaction. That's it, gratification. So by giving them a choice, first of all, they have to gain ownership of the question by getting the answer correct. Once they have ownership of that question, they have to make a choice. So they can either pull out the piece, like Joanne said, or send it to somebody else, or send it to the other team.
So do you do that with the whole class then?
Divide them up into like different groups. Like
We have about 5 or 6 of these, so we'll put them in teams.
So who reads the questions then if you're not reading?
somebody at the table.
Oh, okay.
Because they're
So
learning.
there's always that one student that is uncomfortable being put on the spot. So they can always be the one that's asking the question. They're still getting the review because they're hearing the question, they're, hearing the answers, they have the paper in front of them, they're reading it. So they're still getting the review even though they're not the one answering the question. So you kind of have to, you make your teams, but when you're pulling the stick out, if I know Susie does not like to, answer questions, I can pull it out, I'm like, okay, so now Susie, you're gonna be the game show host. And, Joanne, you're gonna be the game show host of that team. So you can kind of judge, like, where you're going with that.
Right,
They think they have control, but you always have control.
right.
And they think it's random, but it's never.
What's the big deal if they have the questions and the answers? That's what you want them to know. So give them the answers. You're not going to make your test with the exact same questions and answers. They'll be, modified, they'll be adjusted. But give them the answers. That's what you want them to know, All right, Kaboom. This is another game. You have to have your list of questions, okay? This is a great game if you have a bunch of different categories within a unit. So it's great for like an end of unit review. So once again, skeletal system. Say I have one Kaboom game where the questions are all fractures. I have one Kaboom game where all of the questions are acronyms. I have one Kaboom game where it's anatomy. So what you do is you get a cup. You can use a red Solo cup. You can use a cozy, anything, but they can't see through it. You make a whole bunch of popsicle sticks. Say you have 20 questions at each station. Okay? And you can tell the students what the stations are. This is fractures, this is anatomy and physiology, this is whatever, and they have the list of questions. The list of questions on the front of the paper, answers are right there on the back. Who cares? Okay? Put them in groups. Groups work best around 4 or 5 students. So 4 or 5 students sitting at a table, this is how this game works. So the student is going to reach in, they're going to pull out a stick. Question number 10. So somebody else at the table looks for question 10, reads the question, the student who pulled the stick answers it. Student who asked the question turns it over, looks at the answer. They decide if the question is right or wrong. If the student got it right, they get to keep their stick. If they didn't answer it correctly, they have to put the stick back in, goes to the next person. Next person picks a stick. All right, question number 19. So, you see the process continuing. They answer it correct, they keep their stick. They don't answer it correct, they put it back. So you're gonna see as the game goes on, they're gonna have a little pile of sticks in front of them. But here's how you play Kaboom. You take 3 of these sticks, and with your amazing, fantastic teacher artistic abilities, you draw a bomb on the bottom of the stick. Mine looks like a black cherry. Or you can write bomb, you can write pow, you can whatever. But those are the Kaboom sticks. If a student picks a Kaboom, the first thing they need to do is they need to shout Kaboom! If they don't shout Kaboom, you go over to them and you say, really, that's how a bomb goes off? You have to get them into the game. You have to get them engaged. So you want them shouting Kaboom. First time I played it, administration came up. And that's okay because they see that they're doing a review game and they're having a lot of fun. Once they shout Kaboom, they have to put all of their sticks back in the cup. And then the game goes to the next person. So they're going to pick the same questions over and over and over again, but that's a good thing because after a while, they're not going to have to turn that paper over and look at the answers. They're going to know them because they're going to be up here.
And disclaimer, make sure that you put more than one bomb in there.
Oh, yeah.
Because the first time I played it, they wrote the questions and the answers because it was just for chemistry, for the half of the chemistry chapter. So they wrote 25 questions, they each had their own questions, and they played in a group, but I only put one bomb in there, and 2 or 3 of the teams that not like, I'm like, isn't anybody blowing up here? Like, what's happening? And they're like, no, well, honestly, we really didn't pick it, and it was still in there, so put more than one.
Right. 3 works really good. 3 works really good. Okay. Has anybody played trash the ball before? Okay. There's a million different ways to play trash the ball.
So trash the ball, how we do it, we give them a piece of paper. It's just like, this kind of piece of paper, fold it in half, write 4 questions on it. Everybody's doing the same thing. 4 questions on what our notes were yesterday.
This is a great review game to reinforce learning from the day before.
So you have to, prior knowledge, we're building on prior knowledge. We can't continue with the rest of the lesson until I make sure that you remember everything that we taught yesterday and we went over yesterday. So they cut their pages in half, they make their questions, roll it up in the ball, and then I have them all stand up and turn their back and toss it over. So they can't see where their question, where their question landed. And then you divide them into teams. I set up 3 trash cans. You can use regular trash cans. It has to be pretty. So I went to the dollar store, the Party City, and I got 3 of those disposable trash cans. Who has invented that? Whatever. But I bought red, yellow, and green. 10, 20, 30 points.
And you have a foul line.
I put tape on the floor, and I have my foul line. They ask the question. Now, we're a team for the points, but I need to answer my own question. So I ask the question, I get the question right, I crumple that paper back up, and I toss it, and whatever basket I go in, that's how many points my team gets. It goes on the floor, which most of the time when I throw it does. We got the review of the question, yay, but I didn't get any points.
Yes, and this is a great way to get students out of their seat. You review it from the day before, they toss the question, you make them get up, go pick up a piece of trash off the floor so you don't have to clean up. They unravel it, read the question, and if they get it right, they get to score points for their team.
You can also gather all the questions up, copy them and hand it as a handout for a study guide. Have someone type it. You're really quick, you're done everything. Ahead of the time, here, take these and just put them all up, questions on there. And you have someone type it up for you and you have the answer to it.
Okay, and you can modify this a lot of different ways. All right, and then this one's the fortune teller. I showed you it this morning when we first started. This is a really great game, again, for, if you have subject matter where they really need to hone in on 8 different things. So I used this for the different structures of the ear. So go online, watch a YouTube video. We gave you a template. You have it. And you know what? Use your students. I guarantee if you hand your students that template, they will show you how to make a fortune teller. They all know how to do it. So then you have them make the fortune teller, and you're gonna write different components on the fortune teller. So if you open it up, you have 8 different sections. So you can do acronyms on the outside, you can do meanings on the inside. For this one, and you can come up to look at them because we're going to get done in about a minute. For this one, I was teaching the students the ear and Roman numerals. So I used Roman numerals for them to select which one they wanted to do. So for example, quick demonstration. This is fun. Hey, I'm playing with my friends. This is so much fun. Hey, pick a Roman numeral.
1,
1.
4,
1, 2, 3, 4. This is so much fun. I'm getting tactile education and I'm touching things.
3,
1, 2, 3,
5.
5. You sure that's a 5? It is. It's a V with lines on it. All right, ready? Okay. What is the cochlea? She's cosmetology. And the answer is written there. So you're taking the fear out of playing with somebody because you're not going to lose. Your answers are right there. And then when I'm done playing my game, then Joanne can play with me with her game. It's a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much. I know Joanne has a couple of closure items. Hold on one more second. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Couple things, we have business cards up here. We can send you any of this electronically. If you want it electronically, just email us. Cosmetology teachers, if you join the, I don't know if you have this already in cosmetology, but if you go on my lady's website, or
And you're going to go like this. All of them, right up on your head. The other 2 or 3 people are going to start shouting out descriptors to me. So,
triangle, questions, critical thinking,
okay, Bloom's taxonomy.
student government, competition,
HOSA.
more, PBA, HOSA is part of
Skills
it.
USA. Okay, you get it? Okay, so, are you guys ready to play? It's not the male anatomy. Okay? Listen, I'm not that deep. Although my reputation is a little different. That is really tough. Okay, so you guys are doing DC and Marvel superheroes. Okay? Now wait, before you start, and this is all based on the honor system. Before you start, the great thing about this game is after Chris is done with his cards, you can assemble them back together, and now you hand them to the next player. And you repeat over and over and over again. You guys ready? It is the male reproductive system. No, I'm just kidding. Marvel and DC comics. Okay, ready? Are you ready? Set, go.
Up here, up
Up here, up here. You gotta put it up here. Put it up here. Gotta put it up here.
Wings, flying, blue, yellow,
Black and yellow.
special car.
Yeah, you do them all. You do them all.
One that has a black color.
You put a time limit with them, you can.
Diana.
Again, you can
Can't see it.
You might have you can say the word, right? The class word. Not a lot, then you can.
Black, red, bass, blue, salt, also
Yeah.
different concepts, plus there's constant repetition. This game is so much fun, and you can apply it to any of your curricular areas. So this team over here, I do want my cards back because we have to repeat this, but you can come up and you can grab a prize. Thank you guys very much. Thank you for being great sports. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. So, another childhood game is Jenga. We have to find these little...
Please
Pay attention.
So we found these little games in the dollar store.
$1.
Okay, dollar store where you come out and spend $50. But the dollar store, and what you do is just get them, you color code them, okay? Color coding them for me was easy because then I could change the subject matter, and you can do it a couple different ways. So I could do anatomy, hair color, hair cutting, chemical texture.
Right.
Or I could do circulatory system, neurology, angiology, and osteology.
And I could do, if I'm doing skeletal system, I could do acronyms, diseases and disorders, bones of the head and skull, and I can do fractures. So kind of cool, you can break it up into categories.
So again, you have to come up with the questions, or as many questions as you want, or if you're lucky like us, you have the staple review book, and you come up with all of your questions. You know the game, Jenga is the same game, okay? I want to pull out a block, I pull it out. If the tower falls, I lose, we have to start again. I get to pick what color I want. I want to do, what did you pick?
I picked blue.
Blue. So I go to my list of blue questions under the blue category, ask them the question, they get it right, they have two options. They can pull it out, or they can say, you can pull it out. And they give it to the other team. So you go back and forth that way till all your questions are done. They play nice, they get the study guide. They don't play nice, it stinks for them, they make their own study guide. Okay?
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
And you can modify it any way you want. You don't have to color code it if you don't want to. You can just come up with a list of questions. Go through the list of questions. But remember, it's competition, engagement, immediate satisfaction. That's it, gratification. So by giving them a choice, first of all, they have to gain ownership of the question by getting the answer correct. Once they have ownership of that question, they have to make a choice. So they can either pull out the piece, like Joanne said, or send it to somebody else. Or send it to the other team.
So do you do that with the whole class then?
Divide them up into like different groups. Like
We have about 5 or 6 of these, so we'll put them in teams.
So who reads the questions then if you're not reading?
somebody at the table. Because they're
So
learning.
there's always that one student that is uncomfortable being put on the spot. So they can always be the one that's asking the question. They're still getting the review because they're hearing the question, they're, hearing the answers, they have the paper in front of them, they're reading it. So they're still getting the review even though they're not the one answering the question. So you kind of have to, you make your teams, but when you're pulling this stick out, if I know Susie does not like to, answer questions, I can pull it out, I'm like, okay, so now Susie, you're going to be the game show host. And, Joanne, you're going to be the game show host of that team. So you can kind of judge, like, where you're going with that.
Right.
They think they have control, but you always have control.
Right.
And they think it's random, but it's never.
What's the big deal if they have the questions and the answers? That's what you want them to know. So give them the answers. You're not going to make your test with the exact same questions and answers. They'll be, modified, they'll be adjusted. But give them the answers. That's what you want them to know, All right, Kaboom. This is another game. You have to have your list of questions, okay? This is a great game if you have a bunch of different categories within a unit. So it's great for like an end of unit review. So once again, skeletal system. Say I have one Kaboom game where the questions are all fractures. I have one Kaboom game where all of the questions are acronyms. I have one Kaboom game where it's anatomy. So what you do is you get a cup. You can use a red Solo cup. You can use a cozy, anything, but they can't see through it. You make a whole bunch of popsicle sticks. Say you have 20 questions at each station. okay? And you can tell the students what the stations are. This is fractures, this is anatomy and physiology, this is whatever, and they have the list of questions. List of questions on the front of the paper, answers are right there on the back. Who cares, okay? Put them in groups. Groups work best around 4 or 5 students. So 4 or 5 students sitting at a table, this is how this game works. So the student is going to reach in, they're going to pull out a stick. Question number 10. So somebody else at the table looks for question 10, reads the question, the student who pulled the stick answers it. Student who asked the question turns it over, looks at the answer. They decide if the question is right or wrong. If the student got it right, they get to keep their stick. If they didn't answer it correctly, they have to put the stick back in, goes to the next person. Next person picks a stick. All right, question number 19. So, you see the process continuing. They answer it correct, they keep their stick. They don't answer it correct, they put it back. So you're gonna see as the game goes on, they're gonna have a little pile of sticks in front of them. But here's how you play Kaboom. You take 3 of these sticks, and with your amazing, fantastic teacher artistic abilities, you draw a bomb on the bottom of the stick. Mine looks like a black cherry. Or you can write bomb, you can write pow, you can whatever. But those are the Kaboom sticks. If a student picks a Kaboom, the first thing they need to do is they need to shout, Kaboom! If they don't shout Kaboom, you go over to them and you say, really, that's how a bomb goes off? You have to get them into the game. You have to get them engaged. So you want them shouting Kaboom. First time I played it, administration came up. And that's okay because they see that they're doing a review game and they're having a lot of fun. Once they shout Kaboom, they have to put all of their sticks back in the cup. And then the game goes to the next person. So they're going to pick the same questions over and over and over again, but that's a good thing because after a while, they're not going to have to turn that paper over and look at the answers. They're going to know them because they're going to be up here.
And disclaimer, make sure that you put more than one bomb in there.
Oh, yeah.
Because the first time I played it, they wrote the questions and the answers because it was just for chemistry, for the half of the chemistry chapter. So they wrote 25 questions, they each had their own questions, and they played in a group, but I only put 1 bomb in there, and 2 or 3 of the teams that not like, I'm like, isn't anybody blown up here? Like, what happened? And they're like, no, honestly, we really didn't pick it, and it was still in there, so put more than 1.
Right. 3 works really good. 3 works really good. Okay, has anybody played trash ball before? Okay, there's a million different ways to play trash ball.
So trash ball, how we do it, we give them a piece of paper. It's just like, this kind of piece of paper, fold it in half, write 4 questions on it. Everybody's doing the same thing. 4 questions on what our notes were yesterday.
This is a great review game to reinforce learning from the day before.
So you have to, prior knowledge, we're building on prior knowledge. We can't continue with the rest of the lesson until I make sure that you remember everything that we taught yesterday and we went over yesterday. So they cut their pages in half, they make their questions, roll it up in the ball, and then I have them all stand up and turn their back and toss it over. So they can't see where their question, where their question landed. And then you divide them into teams. I set up 3 trash cans. You can use regular trash cans. It has to be pretty. So I went to the dollar store, the Party City, and I got 3 of those disposable trash cans. Who hasn't rented that? Whatever. But I bought red, yellow, and green. 10, 20, 30 points.
And you have a foul line.
I put tape on the floor, and I have my foul line. They ask the question. Now, we're a team for the points, but I need to answer my own question. So I ask the question, I get the question right, I crumple that paper back up, and I toss it, and whatever basket I go in, that's how many points my team gets. It goes on the floor, which most of the time when I throw it does. We got the review of the question, yay, but I didn't get any points.
Yes, and this is a great way to get students out of their seat. You review it from the day before, they toss the question, you make them get up, go pick up a piece of trash off the floor so you don't have to clean up. They unravel it, read the question, if they get it right, they get to score points for their team.
You can also gather all the questions up, copy them and hand it as a handout for a study guide. Have someone type it. You're really quick, you're done everything ahead of the time. Here, take these and just type them all up, questions on there. And you have someone type it up for you and you have the answer key there.
Okay, and you can modify this a lot of different ways. All right, and then this one's the fortune teller. I showed you it this morning when we first started. This is a really great game, again, for, if you have subject matter where they really need to hone in on 8 different things. So I use this for the different structures of the ear. So go online. Watch a YouTube video. We gave you a template. You have it. And you know what? Use your students. I guarantee if you hand your students that template, they will show you how to make a fortune teller. They all know how to do it. So then you have them make the fortune teller, and you're going to write different components on the fortune teller. So if you open it up, you have 8 different sections. So you can do acronyms on the outside, you can do meanings on the inside. For this one, and you can come up to look at them because we're going to get done in about a minute. For this one, I was teaching the students the ear and Roman numerals. So I used Roman numerals for them to select which one they wanted to do. So for example, quick demonstration. This is fun. Hey, I'm playing with my friends. This is so much fun. Hey, pick a Roman numeral.
1, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. This is so much fun. I'm getting tactile education and I'm touching things.
3,
1, 2, 3,
5.
5. You sure that's a 5? It is. It's a V with lines on it. All right, ready? Okay. What is the cochlea? She's cosmetology. And the answer is written there. So you're taking the fear out of playing with somebody because you're not going to lose. Your answers are right there. And then when I'm done playing my game, then Joanne can play with me with her game. It's a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much. I know Joanne has a couple of closure items. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Couple things, we have business cards up here. We can send you any of this electronically. If you want it electronically, just email us. Cosmetology teachers, if you join the, I don't know if you have this already in cosmetology, but if you go on my lady's website, or